Okay, Superheroes, A Never-Ending Battle was a 3-episode, well, from what I saw on Amazon Prime, it's a 3-episode series dealing with the history of comics. Now, I've seen quite a few movies out of the history of comics, quite a few documentaries, and they do normally cover a lot of the same ground, and this one does a lot of the same thing as well. They throw a little bit more in since this is a 2013 documentary. So they actually get to go up into the time of the Avengers. So you go to the time of the Depression era Golden Age comics. I'll sneeze coming in. So the Depression era into World War II, the superheroes fighting in World War II. And then you go from that into the more socially conscious form of comics. And I always get a kick out of when Denny O'Neil talks about his run on Wonder Woman during the rise of feminism. It's weird because in this one he mentioned he was a pacifist. All these other things. They threw out the phrase, I thought I needed to be a feminist. And I went, that's weird to have somebody say, I thought that I needed to also be a feminist. If you don't know his run on Wonder Woman, he stripped her of all of her powers, and she was a street-level martial artist. So think Black Canary, just with dark hair and no sonic scream. Because he thought that's what women wanted. I also talked with Linda Carter, who described a lot of her time in Wonder Woman, and how feminists were not fans of it. They didn't quite get it. And when I showed photos of talked to her relatively recently, she still looks like she could probably do Wonder Woman again right now. They showed clips of that. They talked about the campiness of Batman, how that really rocketed up the comics for a little while. The comics got really stupid and campy. And then how comics kind of went away, and then Marvel became a much more socially relevant comics where everyone had problems. DC Comics, everyone was essentially virtually flawless and perfect. They were the way society should view these people as almost mythological, godlike creatures. Where in Marvel, people loved Spider-Man Peter Parker because he was this person who was a nerd, he was a dork, he had these powers, he had a really awesome job he did at night, but then during the day he struggled to pay rent. So you had the Marvel side, which are characters that are based in the real world, had real world problems, where DC was much more of like a utopian style of superhero. And then they mentioned how, a lot of it hit a point of where it really stagnant. They occasionally bring in new blood. They talked to Steranko about his run on S.H.I.E.L.D., where he did these really weird, tripping psychedelic effects, and how you'd have, you're getting through a maze with Nick Fury, so you have to actually turn the comic to keep on reading it, which certain people absolutely hate when you have to turn for a splash panel. Went through the rise of Image Comics, where it was all, we're going to go the adult route, everything's going to be bloody and violent, we're going to kill villains, we're going to have sexualized content, it's all going to be bright, splashy, and flashy. And now characters like Batman made transition from the Golden Age character where he killed people and used a gun, to the Silver Age version where he didn't kill anybody, to the goofy Adam West style Batman where it was like bang, biff, pow, to Frank Miller when he was awesome in The Dark Knight, taking that into the Burton films and the Nolan films. So those are interesting to see the overall transitions of characters. And they talked about Superman becoming a film. And how it was odd that in 1980, they're like, could Superman really become a film? Now here's this truth, justice, and the American way, Boy Scoutish, kind of stick in the mud sort of character. And the way society had transitioned itself, it was all pretty much sex, drugs, and pornography. Yeah, that's right. In the 80s, that was actually a really big thing in the very early 80s. Yeah, so, 30 years later, when Superman's coming out again, and they're like, hey, can you really do truth, justice, the American way with the way things are now? Where everything is, sex, violence, and drugs. Hey, just like it was 30 years ago. And then they mentioned the constant updating of characters. So thinking back from the Christopher Reeve version, his Superman was very So it was a very ideological based character, but Chris Reeves brought a tremendous amount of charisma to it. Transition that to the Man of Steel version, where it is a harder, darker, grittier version. You know, people complain that they don't want squeaky clean, they want dark and gritty, they dark and gritty, and they don't like it because it should be squeaky clean. You know, the rise of the anti-heroes, people like Wolverine, people like the Punisher. You know, so a unique look at these things. As it covers a lot of what you see in the other documentaries. You know, little bits and pieces are thrown in additionally here and there. They do a nice job of showing how it reflected the way that society was, how society reflected on the comics. Now, that was interesting. I liked that part. What I didn't like was it was narrated by Liev Schreiber. Or Liev Schreiber. The guy who played Sabretooth in the really bad Wolverine movie, and the guy who made me fall asleep in Manchurian Candidate, as well as in the Omen remake. So a guy who has had some good films, had some bad films, and it was like, you know, I got the privilege to be a superhero. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. You were a horrible Sabretooth in a horrible superhero film. Don't talk about it like it was an awesome experience. Don't. Beyond that, this is very much in the vein of the other ones. Just it did a little bit more when it came to the way society was and how comics reflected that. And from that aspect, it actually did a pretty good job.